As if there wasn't enough to debate in the tax bill already, now tax reform and health care are on a collision course. The new version of the Senate's tax plans would still cut the corporate rate to 20% in 2019, and it would keep it permanent. But all of the major tax cuts for individuals are now temporary, and it gets rid of the requirement that people buy health insurance or pay a penalty, or what is known as the individual mandate. Now, health care is a landmine that has tripped up Republicans before, but this time Senate leadership says that it is confident that it has the votes to get this passed. Now, eliminating the individual mandate also helps Republicans solve a math problem. The tax bill can't cost more than $1.5 trillion over the next decade, and it can't add to the deficit after that. Now, this provision does raise $318 billion over 10 years, but that's because fewer poor people would sign up for health insurance, which means the government would have to pay less in subsidies. The CBO estimates 13 million people would no longer have insurance at all. So under this new Senate plan, a lot of the benefits for household would also expire after 2025. That includes the reduction in rates, the increase in the exemption for the estate tax, doubling the standard deduction, and repealing the alternative minimum tax. All of those would go away. Republicans are betting that future Congresses won't want to let those tax cuts expire, and they're also hoping that there's enough in this mashup of tax reform and health care to win over moderate senators. But guys, it is now all or nothing for Republicans as they try to get their agenda done before the end of the year.
Ylan, how much do you think this does raise the stakes just in terms of trying to get the votes together to actually have enough Republicans to sign off on this?
So it is complicated, Becky. I mean, this does sort of increase the stakes, the political stakes here. But when you look through the changes in the Senate version of the tax plan, it is clear that a lot of the individual negotiations are already beginning. There's provisions for some provisions in Alaska. There's provisions for people working in the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt. So there's also an increase in the child tax credit that would perhaps appease Marco Rubio and Jeff Flake. So you can see where they are already trying to sort of make those calculations and win people over on the front end, as opposed to during the healthcare debate when a lot of those negotiations took place at the last minute.
So you mentioned Alaska and special tax rebates for people there. Is that for Murkowski?
Yes, that's from Murkowski, who was one of the holdouts, you remember, in the health care debate. This time around, there was already a provision that would have made it easier to drill in the Arctic Wildlife Reserve that was in the budget reconciliation measure that got this whole process started. Now it looks like there's additional provisions in here that could be appealing to
but that's unbelievable when you can go through the tax code and say, okay, this was to buy so-and-so's vote.
You don't remember the Nebraska purchase?
Yeah.
That's called politics, Becky.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.